My boyfriend gave me the ick by being a pretty hardcore Trump supporter, and now I'm leaving him over it. I, 20F, started dating my boyfriend, 21M, about 2-ish months ago. We've known each other for 3 years. We weren't initially interested in dating, but it kind of just happened, and things have been really well except for one thing. I found out he's a Trump supporter. Now, before you lecture me in the comments about how I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, please hear me out. It's just been a couple of things that have really rubbed me the wrong way about him for some reason. For context, I am a Hispanic female immigrant, fled from a country where, if I can put it in simplest terms, went to poop. Who's had nothing but bad experiences with Trump supporters, because almost every single time without fail, they would always say or do something extremely demeaning to myself or my family, talking about how people like us should be deported without even realizing they are referring to us, saying that people like me are a threat to the country, shaming, etc., etc. I consider myself the kind of person who judges a person's character based on what they believe in, and time again, it's been proved to me that these types of people are the type I should stay away from. On the day that Trump got convicted, we started talking politics, and he told me that he's not really a felon. The courts were unfair, there was bias, and he should have had a fair trial. Not exactly verbatim, but that's pretty much the point he made when I told him that Trump was a felon now. When we were watching The Boys, S4, and that one part where an old man was explaining to Newman that women can get reject pregnancies, he agreed with that old man. When I explained to him that that's not how women work, he apologized to me. But I was still absolutely surprised that he didn't even understand such a basic thing about women. He has a sister, so it's not like he grew up without women in his life. We had a conversation about immigration, and he told me that all immigrants should be immediately deported. I told him that myself and my family are immigrants, and if that meant he wanted US to be deported, to which he said, "But you guys are legal." I'm talking about the illegal ones. I told him that this type of rhetoric makes me feel unsafe, and the conversation kind of just ended there. When we were having a conversation about the Trump Island relationship, he told me that it was all a conspiracy and that Trump isn't the type of person to do that. I brought up a bunch of examples of Trump being a pred, the cat grabber stuff, heckling a 10-year-old, the creepy comments about his daughter, the flight logs, making the point that while being guilty by association isn't a thing, the other instances of him being a predator make this seem a lot more plausible. He told me that Trump never did any of that. And in a way, that kind of broke the camel's back for me, because I myself am a victim of sexual assault. And the nasty thought occurred to me that if I ever got assaulted, he probably wouldn't even believe me. That him standing behind someone I consider not safe means that he condones Trump's actions, and by extension, the actions of the man who assaulted me. I don't know how he, who grew up with women, and has a girlfriend, who he is fully aware of is Hispanic and an immigrant, has LGBTQ+ friends, and states that he loves people like me and his family, can even stand behind something like that. It makes me wonder if there's a side of him that he hasn't revealed to me yet, because this is a new relationship. And that makes me extremely uncomfortable. I told him that this gives me the ICK because my own family is telling me that I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship. That Trump wants people to fight each other and that I shouldn't let Trump win. But I really don't know. Can I get some advice? Update. I spent the last couple of days with my dad, who was visiting me, and deleting social media and muting a bunch of politics-related stuff, because I've come to realize that regularly listening to people talk about how people like me ruin the country and how we don't belong here isn't really good for my mental health. And neither is dating someone who openly admits to supporting that group. So I talked to, now ex-VF. I went to his room instead of inviting him to mine, because I knew that if I let him in my room he would just refuse to leave until he was convinced he convinced me, and I wanted to keep the power of removing myself from the situation at any time. We live in a college dorm. Firstly, I should say that I admitted to him on the day that I made my first post that him supporting a known essay is hurtful to me, because him tolerating that behavior makes me question if he's tolerant of the posse who assaulted me, and thus, I see him in a different light, and he sent a very long text message just telling me that it hurt his feelings and that he does care about me being essayed. I didn't really understand though, because he votes for him. It boiled down to, I feel terrible that you see me as the type of person who'd be okay with that, because I'm not okay with it. I started that conversation by apologizing to him and then following with me just telling him that I want to end the relationship and going back to being friends. I don't think I meant the friends part though. You can't have your cake and eat it. I can't be your friend if you affiliate yourself with a group of people who regularly talk bad about me. He tried to convince me to stay by saying that he really loved me and cared about me and respected my opinions. That we shouldn't let politics get in the way of our relationship. I responded that I can't change what he believes and that I value a person's beliefs and the group of people they associate with as a method of how I judge their character. I've already judged him. I don't like what I see, and therefore, I've lost my feelings for him. He told me I was making a generalization. I told him that while it is true that I might be making a generalization, we can't change the fact that in this landscape of politics, many of my rights are in the chopping block, and that I am already starting to resent him for not really feeling listened to when I try to talk about how anxious it's making me. He told me that none of that stuff is going to happen, and that our different opinions shouldn't get in the way of our relationship. That he's voting for Trump because he thinks he can fight inflation and cares about military members. I told him that while I can list a million reasons why that isn't true, that isn't relevant to the conversation. He then said that all his other relationships never consisted of talk about politics and that this was ridiculous. I pretty much told him that he can't have his cake and eat it. I can't date someone who associates with people who give me trouble, and that this won't be sustainable. Ending is better for the both of us. I realized that this conversation was going nowhere and decided to just leave. I told him to just give up on it already before leaving. He kept asking me to stay while he thought about what to say, but I didn't. I'm just done. I don't really feel sad. I feel so relieved. I'm going to leave social media for a while and just focus on myself for a while. I'm going to therapy too. I'll stick around to read your comments. How much longer I'll be able to respond though. If I go radio silent, then just take that as a sign that I am no longer on this app. Have a nice day.